So Rick and Chaz, I want to kind of talk to you guys a little. So the flexion thing, my background, golf years ago, and that's how I got to know the HackMotion guys a couple of years ago. The whole movement in golf is they studied that as players, all their swings look so different when they swing at impact. Their lead wrist, right? You call bottom wrist. Their lead wrist was basically in the same position. It was in flexion. So what instructors started to do in that list you gave of Rory McIlroy, Jordan Spieth, especially Dustin Johnson, you look at their swings today, and when they're at the top of their swing, if you look at their left wrist, it's like this now. Nicklaus, they used to say you want to feel like you're holding a serving tray at the top of your swing. Now it's the opposite, okay? So with baseball, what I'm seeing and what I started to see was at impact, it's the same thing. It's a rotational movement, and everyone was at flexion. So Chaz, this is going to be great while I ask this question of y'all, if you could do this for me. So I want you to put your wrist like this for me. So when you start, you're like this, right? But if at impact, now watch my barrel. If at impact, I'm like this, look how much my barrel has moved. I'm just doing this. So now let's talk about, this is where I love HackMotion, because it not only tells you what's happening, it tells you when it's happening. So if we are in extension at the start, at what point are we getting to flexion, and are we losing, because we're not really controlling that barrel until we get to the flexion point of impact. So my thought is barrel through the zone, right? Everyone's trying to, you start here, you're trying to deliver, we're trying to deliver the barrel into the zone. Everybody wants the barrel in the zone as long as possible. This is universal, right? Body types, how you get it there, that's not universal, right, Rick? But every instructor wants the same thing. So my thing is, okay, when we're getting the barrel to the zone, are we still in extension? And now we're in the zone, but we're continuing flexion. And now the barrel is leaving the zone, right? And so my whole thing with HackMotion of what I like about it, and is that, okay, I want the barrel, I want to be able to make a mistake and get away with it. I want the barrel in the zone as long as possible. Everyone does. I'm not unique in that, I know. So I want to see, how long is it taking my player to get into flexion? Are they not getting into flexion until right at impact, which means the barrel is, it might be coming up severely, it might be going down severely. So just so we haven't talked about this that much. And I would love to get Rick's feedback and Chaz's feedback, your thoughts on that, because if everyone's in flexion to a certain degree, we start maybe sometimes a little too much into extension. And so when I say that lead wrist, they're starting like this, right? Mm-hmm. But and so that's a lot of the barrel moving just to get to impact.
I think what you're getting to, Mark, is that, and what I found is that each one of these players have a different set of things that they have to do to be able to get that bat to the right spot at the right time, at the right angle. So I've tried the different grips with the players where we went into extension and went into flexion and stuff like that. And, what you'll see is a lot, there's nothing that's going to be universal that you see in any of these players that actually do it. There's other things that are contributing to how they actually swing. But one of the things with the younger guys you see is a lot of volatility in some of these graphs. They're moving all over the place like this. So the sweet spot of that bat is all over the place, things like that. So, Joe, as a coach, you're trying to get the player to a position that he can align the angles of what he needs to do to be able to hit his ball. Chad, you were talking about the Trout video. And, you look at that, I think if you're creating that good whipping action in a swing, you're probably at impact are going to see that the tip of the barrel of the bat is in line with the hitter's shoulder at this point. And if guys cannot get through the handle of this bat and be able to rotate this wrist properly, it's going to leave the bat open. You're going to get a lot of glancing blows. Or if I have to fight myself sometimes, like my one particular player did with the one particular handle he had, you see a lot of this snap hooking of balls and stuff like that. And, I've tried to use one lesson from, and a half hour to the lesson at the top of the hour, and the players are reacting to it totally differently. And so you have to look into, the physical makeups of these players. Are they big chest, small chest, longer limb guys, upper limb, lower limb arm guys like that? Because it will influence how they're moving this bat, when they're moving the bat more than anything else, is what I've seen with the HackMotion.
The other thing to think about is when you're going through like pure ulnar deviation, right here, if you get into flexion, you can do it more. So if they get into flexion, they can kind of keep going further than they would if they stayed, perfectly parallel. Okay. And so these are the types of things that when we talk about hips, like if you internally rotate your back foot to try to look and turn your hips in, you can turn further in the swing, right? I mean, these are things that, the three of us know, and I hope a lot of coaches watching this know, these little tricks you can do if somebody over rotates. Maybe you open their foot up a little bit if they got a really loose back hip joint or something. So there's ways to kind of work around different anatomies, but there's not a lot of ways to overcome weakness in the wrist and lack of range of motion in the wrist and lack of ability to control the bat. Because I don't care how fast you turn, if you don't know where that bat's going and you're forcing your hitters to stay like this instead of turning in and understanding like why that matters. I'm not telling you teach your kids to roll over. That's not what I'm saying. Because in that Trout video, his hands are still super supported. And that's where we want to be. He's not turning this hand. He's holding the bat and rotating around here. So these are the things that I mean, I haven't had HackMotion that long, and I'm already this deep in, and I'm excited to find out more stuff. I can tell you that.
Okay, that's great here. Just by the way, for the attendees, clarification, you can measure both bottom and top hand. We're now